Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at the NBA Cup semis in Vegas here on Saturday. Got two games, Hawks and Bucks. Also got the Rockets and the Thunder on the other side of the bracket. So I've got best bets and player prop projections for you guys to help you make your plays on Saturday as well. Still got some early lines, so I want to wait for a little bit of market pressure to affect things before I make a lot of plays. But I'll make clear to you guys which bets I already have on the card. Also have three winners from the VIP giveaway that I had on the last video from Thursday's slate. Got three people who put their best bets in the comments, got them correct. They were a part of the raffle and ended up winning. So I'll show you guys those three. You guys can reach out to me to get your free VIP access. Let's take a look at the betting card from Friday, see how we did, and get right into it. Without further ado, we have Diego Rodriguez, Bella Macaque, and Michael Haddad. Three winners. I've got the video up as well for you guys so you can see. No cheating. I spun the random wheel of stuff and pulled out these three names. So definitely go ahead and DM me. Use at JLBoogie on all of the social medias, and that'll get you access to me to get you a free access for a month here in the VIP. A nice night made sour by the ending there on Friday. 3 and 4, minus 1.3 units. So ended up not having a nice night after a really nice start. Santi Aldama, they keep giving us his points prop under 10 for whatever reason. He's the backup center for this Memphis team. And until Zach Edey comes back, 9.5 and 10.5 point lines are beautifully soft for Santi Aldama. So we'll keep going over on those. Ja Morant, I believe that the time and the minutes restrictions are gone for Ja. So we should be seeing him a lot more moving forward. This team is definitely going to continue to make a push for a top seed in the West. And Ja is going to be a leader. He's just playing out of his mind right now. So I can't wait to keep betting on Ja. If he's in the low 20s in points and anywhere around 7.5 assists, we're going to keep hitting the over for him. Rudy Gobert, nice little over on the PR, over 22.5 there. Could have taken it at 23.5 like I gave it out in the VIP. I'll make clear, these bets came in a little bit later than the live show. For those of you who are tuning in at 5:30 p.m. Eastern every weekday, do want to check out the VIP when you get a chance so that you know which bets I'm making a little bit closer to tip. And we'll talk about that more here on the show in a minute. The losses, James Harden, I think I'm done betting overs on Harden. We've hit his unders a ton this season. And really what ends up happening is he goes off in the first half, usually the first quarter, and then does nothing in the second half, just disappears from the game. It doesn't really look like the Clippers are trying very hard either because of the way that they're playing these rotations. So I might be staying away from a lot of overs. Anything to do with the Clippers right now, do not like the way that they're playing at this point in the season. Embiid is now out for a while. He sinus fracture, got hit in the face, ended up leaving the game. Didn't do much in the first quarter. They were doubling him as well. I'll say that for the Pacers. They definitely brought an extra man over whenever Joel Embiid got the ball. So I don't know that the points would have been good for the game, even if he didn't leave early, to be honest with you. I think we got to stay away from Joel right now, not just assume that he's going to be himself if we see him back on the floor anytime soon anyway. Nick Richards was a bad look. He ended up not getting the start. Need to wait for this stuff with Charlotte. They don't really have consistent rotations. So with Mark Williams back in there, we can't really rely on Nick Richards. Got the information that he wasn't starting a little bit late, and then that ends up screwing us with the minutes. He only played 15 minutes in a blowout to the Bulls, even without Vucevic. So I'm staying away from Charlotte centers and big men right now. We don't know what to do with them. And then Walker Kessler on the double-double. He didn't get it with the boards. He had plenty of points in this one, and I initially just liked the points and rebounds, and that's going to be the safer play for Walker Kessler moving forward. In the nights where maybe he's not boarding up as much, especially against the Suns, where they're a jump shooting team, a lot harder for centers to get rebounds. I just like taking centers against the Suns because they suck, but he ended up doing it on the points, not the rebounds. Better play would be to just take the PR combined. Still up 31.3 units on the season. And I want to make clear one thing, because a lot of people have been coming into the comments and saying, yo, if you have a good night tonight, I'm going to jump in the VIP. That's not necessary. Like, that's not how you track your favorite capper. If you want to know if a capper is somebody that you can trust, follow them for more than one night. Follow them for more than 1 week. Give them a month of your time, see if they're worth it, and then go in, right? You don't have to go and get the VIP access for me right now to see how I'm doing. I'm showing you guys how the VIP bets do every day following, right? So if you want to track it that way, you can see how well I'm doing. I'm up 31 units on the season after just 8 weeks. I'll tell you right now, that's really good and hard to do. I'm proud of it. I'm not trying to gloat. I'm just proud of it. So you do want to make sure that you're giving us a little bit more than just one night. That goes for me or anybody whose picks you might want to pay for. And when you do jump into VIP, you get a little bit more than just the picks here. I'm giving lots of one-on-one access to help you guys get better at sports betting. So hope to see y'all in there. Either way, we've got those three winners, so hope to see y'all in there. Let's get into these player prop projections. If that sounds good, give that video a like. let's get right into it. As we dive into this game with the Bucks and the Hawks, this is a reminder I'm going to be using propsmadness.com here on the show. So make sure that if you do not yet have an account and you want one so that you have the best tool in the NBA betting business here, you do get an access to Props Madness. Use code LYB. That'll go ahead and get you 25% off your first month if you're interested. But pay attention while I'm using this because this is the GOAT. First thing I'm looking at here with this game is Dame Lillard, because if you are a point guard against the Hawks, you should do super well. One of the beautiful things here about Props Madness, you can see player shot charts and you can see their play type analysis. And so you can see for Dame here that he is scoring almost 40% of his points off of the pick and roll ball handler, right? So that's a play that he's getting the majority of his points, about 12 a game off of that. 30th in the league. That's how the Hawks rank, limiting points to the opposing ball handler who's running that pick and roll, right? Which is often the point guard and the primary ball handler, which is clearly Dame. And that's going to be what we see a lot of in this game against the Hawks, is Dame probably being able to pull up and hit a lot of threes. That's the other thing that we're looking at here. If I pull up the NBA Advanced Stats page, I can easily see how bad this Hawks team is, limiting exactly what Dame wants to do. And what Dame wants to do is pull up off of that pick and roll play and shoot from three, right? So if I go to the Hawks opponent shooting stuff, I can look at how well they defend against pull-ups and the catch and shoot, right? If you look at 3-point field goals made off of the pull-up shot, this is the worst team in the league. That's a Dame Lillard special, right? Is coming up off of the dribble, popping the three from pretty much anywhere, including the logo. That's a problem for Atlanta. So for Dame, this is going to be a game that you would expect him to have a decent amount of points in. The thing that has me keeping me from just going and betting on Dame is a couple of things. One, this is going to be a playoff-like atmosphere for both of these games and any game in the Cup moving forward. Both these teams are now close enough to win $1 million each for every player on their roster and really care about winning a tournament and saying that they are the best at this during the season. So that does mean it probably gets a little bit tighter. Things might get a little bit slower, choppier, right? The shooting gets a little bit worse because there's a little bit more pressure, so things tighten up. So that's one reason I'm not just like, let me get on Dame's points in what seems like a very, very good matchup for him. The other thing is with Chris Middleton in there's just going to be fewer shots for both Dame and for Giannis and for all the other guys that are in here. If you look at last season, just as an example, I'm going to go and look at Dame with Giannis and Chris Middleton both playing last season, and you can see things drop a bit for him. He averaged 24.7 points per game on the season. When he played with Middleton and Antetokounmpo in the same game, he averaged almost a full point less per game. It's just fewer touches, right? Already this season, we've seen it impact him at least a little bit in the games that he's played. So in this one, went off, had 25 against the Celtics. That was always going to be the case, and it was Middleton's first game back. Next game has 7 shots against the Nets. And I'm not saying Middleton just came in and took all of his shots. It was also a better matchup for Giannis in that game, but just still fewer shots, right? And then even in the third game here against Orlando, 15 shots. And he got to the free throw line plenty, had a great game. I understand he went over in 2 of these 3. I totally get it. It still just makes me a bit nervous that Middleton's going to be back in there and that things go a little bit lower for Dame when he plays with Chris Middleton. It's the same for his assists as well, which I think are really, really high. But once again, once he's played with Chris Middleton this season, his assists are actually a little bit more because he has another player that he can trust that's playing a few more minutes alongside him and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I'm still not yet there with a bet for Dame on either. These props are super high. And keep in mind, he's going to be playing a lot of minutes. So we can bank on 35 plus for him because once again, this is a playoff-like atmosphere. It's just these numbers are silly high for Dame and even for Giannis at 33.5. Like I know they're going to be doing a lot, but I just heed a little bit of caution what's going to be a tighter game than we might be used to. Similar look here for Brook Lopez. I'm heeding caution once again. First of all, never really done well when it comes to the rebounds in this matchup versus Clint Capella and company. He had 6 in the last game, once again, without Chris Middleton, just 9 rebound chances to pull down the 6 boards. Not something you want to have to rely on. If you look at the way he played against them last season in the rebounds, averaged 2.7 against them, right? With Clint in there. And all 3 of these games were relatively close, except for the one they lost by 17, 11-point win and the 9-point win, by no means blowouts, still limited to about 8-9 rebound chances per game. I don't really like him to get 6. I certainly don't. Like the 5.5 is an under for me with Brook Lopez and his rebounds. In fact, I would actually prefer an over for Clint Capella on the boards, who you have seen dominate against Brook Lopez on the rebounding front, right? If we look at this last game where they just faced off this season, a 17 rebound game on 23 rebound chances for Clint. If you look at him last season, also similar success, 23 minutes and 18 rebound chances, 30 minutes and 25 rebound chances. And I fully expect Clint to be in there for 25 to 28 minutes tonight, on Saturday, I should say. And you can see he's been doing that over the course of the last like 6-7 games, playing about 24 minutes, still getting near 24 rebound chances in this time. So basically a rebound chance a minute for Clint Capella, whose job is strictly go out there and get those rebounds and occasionally finish around the rim. But I do like him on the rebounds a lot more than I like the guy he's going up against here in Brook Lopez. You know this is going to be the matchup, and Clint's done a much better job getting those boards over Brook historically. The other guy on Atlanta I am targeting is Jalen Johnson. The thing that I don't love about this prop right now, as it's Friday night and I'm not yet betting on it, is because it's 18.5, but it's minus 115 for odds on both sides. What that tells you is the books are just letting us come in and bet on this, but they're limiting the amount that you can bet on it. And this might not matter to too many people, but a lot of sports bettors, especially the ones who make a career out of this, they don't bet minus 115 on both sides because the hold is huge. And the books are just getting a lot of money from us because they have the same odds for the over and the under. That's what they want. They want you to come in and bet evenly on both sides. And all they have to worry about is making the VIG as their profit, right? If you don't know what I mean, I highly recommend reading The Logic of Sports Betting. It is the best book to explain how to play odds when you're sports betting. So I want to wait for Jalen Johnson to see what the market pressure does. I want to see people come in and bet on him a little bit. He's questionable right now, so there is pending information, but I fully expect him to play in this game. He's not missing this game in Vegas. I'll tell you that right now. You're going to have to like break his thumb to keep him from playing in it. So that's why he is going to play. We'll get some more news. Maybe this goes up when he's announced in, but on Saturday morning, this is not going to be 18.5 points, minus 115 on both sides. But every single book here is keeping it the same. So it's not worth it as a bettor. You're just feeding into the books and giving them what they want if you bet this too early. So be smart. Wait till tomorrow morning. I'll be back and talking about this stuff on Twitter and in the VIP and in the free Discord as well. If people have questions about this stuff tomorrow, so that we can get some clarity on how we want to bet on guys like both Jalen Johnson and DeAndre Hunter, who has a very similar thing here where it's very similarly priced on all books. I need the market pressure to help me before I make a decision on it. I would love to bet on Trey right now. He's in ice Trey mode, and I totally get that. But these props are silly high. Once again, 11.5 on the dimes. Doable, but that is a ridiculously high number, even for a man who's doing really well with that. The Bucks are a defense that's limiting assists. They are 8th limiting assists to the opponent. And if you look at the play types that they're best at defending, they're better at defending the spot up than they are, say, the pick and roll ball handler. So what that means is they're not playing off of their shooters, right? They're not doubling on the ball. They're sticking to their man. And if a shooter if a driver with the ball in his hands gets into the lane, the guys on the perimeter are not leaving their the shooters that they're guarding to give open shots up, right? So that means we don't really like guys who are spotting up as much, and it's a little bit tougher to get assists as a point guard or anybody really against the Milwaukee Bucks this season. If we look at how he played in the first game, didn't have to do much. He had so much help from guys like Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, even DeAndre Hunter, who had 20 points in that game. A lot of other guys stepping up. So you can see on the thing that I will say about the assists, he had 7, but he had 21 potentials. So I'm considering the assists very strongly. This is still a play that I would like to make. I just don't want it at 11.5. I would much prefer it at 10.5, and it might go down because you can see the under at 11.5 is minus 140, meaning it's the implied odds are saying it's much more likely that he goes under than that he goes over. So that this might tip to 10.5 by tomorrow morning. Another good wait and see moment. For those of you getting frustrated that I'm not just doling out bets, I'm not a magic 8 ball. This is a whole strategy that we have to play here and have a little bit of patience to see how the market moves things. Let those who are not as smart as we are push this down to 10.5, and then we'll hit the over on it. Finally, we get to move to the Thunder and the Rockets, which is probably going to be a more interesting game. It'll definitely be a better defensive matchup, I'll say that, than the Bucks and the Hawks. So the first thing I'm looking at here is Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm taking him for a double-double. That is going to be plus money. I would take that all the way down to even money at plus 100, right, is what I mean by even money. I think that's a great bet for him. For him to get the 10, we're basically saying 10 boards when he's priced at 11.5, and we need him to get the 10 points. And that is something that he has done pretty well. I mean, obviously in this game against the Rockets this season, he had the 19 points on just 12 shots in 30 minutes. As far as the boards go, he had 13 of them, right? And 21 rebound chances in those 30 minutes. And I think we peg him for another 30 minutes, and we just need him to get the 10 points. So that's what I like for him in this one. This is something he's done very consistently. I mean, there's not really much that we need to say. One thing I'll show you here is that the implied odds of him getting a double-double at plus 120 indicate that it's like a 48% chance that he does that. Yet in reality, since he's been back for 9 games. He's gotten double digits in 7 of those 9, and he's gotten double-digit rebounds also in actually 8 of those 9. Right. So he's done this basically 8 out of 9 times, 7 out of 9 times rather. He's gotten this. 7 divided by 9, since I didn't do it earlier, is 77%. So if you believe in that there's closer to a 70, like I think there's closer to about a 65% chance that he gets a double-double tonight based on the math and the projections. And yet we're still getting plus 120. So the odds are heavily in our favor for iHeart. That's my favorite play. And the only bet that I currently have down for this night, for Saturday as a whole right now. Obviously, the man that we want to target for points is SGA. It's hard for me to tell you not to do it, except for once again, this is going to be a playoff atmosphere. I mean, if you look at SGA in the playoffs last year, did great. I mean, he was absolutely awesome. But still, getting 32 points isn't something he did super consistently, even in the playoffs, against teams that are about as good defensively. Maybe not quite as good defensively in the Mavs, but the Mavs definitely locked in and were able to handle them, had a really good game plan for that as well. The Rockets haven't had as much success limiting SGA on the season this year. If we look at it, take this back to 24-25, we're looking at him averaging about 30.5, right? He had the 29 points when they won by 19, only played 29 minutes in that game too. So keep that in mind that he had a point a minute in that one. And then when he played 36 minutes, he had 32 points in the next game against them. If we look at him last game too, not even against this team, he just had 39 against the Mavs in 38 minutes. So our man is scoring about a freaking point a minute. That's unheard of, right? That's absurd. You don't score a point a minute in the NBA. You come close to it when you're guys like SGA, but that's still absurd. So the 31.5, it's an ideal matchup when we look at the play type and stuff like that. He is playing an ISO. He's playing as the pick and roll ball handler. And the Rockets, once again, this is a team that limits assists. Right here, you can see that they are, where are we at with the assists? The number one team in limiting assists overall. If we pull up FanDuel Fantasy Pros, and the link to this is, and every tool, by the way, that I'm using is in the description of the video. But if we pull this up and we look at point guards or assists in general, you're going to see the Houston Rockets are 3rd best limiting point guards. They're 3rd best. They're just one of the best defenses at not giving up assists because they also don't double team the ball. They let guys like Dylan Brooks ball hawk and guard SGA one-on-one. And as a result, SGA is now just playing one-on-one, and there's nobody in the world that I would say can stop him more often than he can score when he's going one-on-one. There's just certain guys like that, and he's definitely one of them. Against this team last year, another bunch of success, right? Averaged about 33.3, didn't go over the 31.5. And I want to see, there are some 30.5s left. I would not hit this at 31.5. If you can get this at 30.5, we're getting close, but 30 plus is the look for SGA based on the projected minutes and the matchup as well, which takes away a little bit because this is a tough matchup in general, but this is the type of player that's more likely to score against this team than others, for sure. They don't give anything up to the spot up, right? They're 10th best limiting spot up shooters. They're very good limiting catch and shoot as well. If we go to team opponent shooting and we pull up the catch and shoot stuff here, you can see as far as the frequency goes for the amount of shots that are even being taken against them, they are 2nd best limiting attempts for catch and shoot players, right? Boston Celtics, another team that plays very similar to the Rockets. They don't give up stuff off the catch and shoot. You much more are likely to score if you shoot off the pull up. And that's what I have listed right here. Now I've got pull-ups and the frequency with which Houston teams are shooting against Houston off the pull-up. They're in the bottom 10, right? They're giving up 26.5% of their shots off of the pull-up, not the catch and shoot. That's what SGA does. Almost all of his shots are off of that. So this is the guy whose points you definitely want to be eyeing. I think J-Dub is another guy who scores in the exact same fashion as does SGA. Mostly pick and roll ball handler, and a little bit of a lot of transition, little bit of spot up, right? A little bit more spot up than SGA, but he's going to have the ball in his hands and the volume is going to be there. Only thing I would say is I wouldn't take both of them. I don't think this is going to be a game where we're going to see a ton of points. This is going to be basically think of the Dubs game that they just played to get here for the Rockets. What was that? 91-90. That's similar to how I see this game going. We're going to be in the low 100s for the total here. So don't go too crazy on these overs is my point. In fact, my favorite play from this game outside of the Isaiah Hartenstein bet I already have that I'm looking at is an under for Jalen Green. And you can see there's a little disparity here. He's at 17.5 points. He's also at 2.5 dimes. And you're saying that's nothing, right? But if you look at the way that this team has destroyed Jalen Green's confidence with Kason Wallace, now they have Alex Caruso to throw at him, and they also put J-Dub on him when they need to, who might be their best defender, but we don't talk about him like that because he's also their second best offensive player, so he doesn't necessarily get the accolades on defense anymore now that he's so good at offense. That said, he's even guarded Jalen Green. And if we just go to StatMuse for a minute so we can see a little bit further back and see just how well this team is destroying Jalen Green, let's do Jalen Green versus Thunder last 8 games. And this will date back to a couple of years ago at the beginning of 2023. But I'm not seeing much in here. Now, the one time he went over, it was 46 minutes. It was a game in the end of March that the Thunder did not care about. They didn't play a lot of their players. They didn't even play the players that they did play for the full amount of time. SGA wasn't out there for very much. Nobody was. So that game, do not care about. Every other game, we're talking about 9, 14, 16, 11, 15, 14, 12. Those were his point totals. Then you look at the dimes, 3, 2, 7. And 7 was in that outlier game where he played 46 minutes. And then we've got 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. So basically, he's averaging about 19 PA. His PA in this game is up at about, oh, wow, this dropped. Oh, my Lord, this dropped. So everybody's on the same page here of going under on Jalen Green. I wouldn't take this at 19.5 for the points and the assists combined. I would take the points under 17.5 before I did anything else. That's the look that I have for him. Waiting to see what the market does to this. I don't think that this is going to be 16.5 for most of tomorrow. I think we're still going to be able to get under 17.5 points for him. I'll check back in with y'all tomorrow. If you do hit me up either in the free Discord or on Twitter or Discord in general, that's where I'll be reachable to talk about Jalen Green a little bit more. I really like Dillon Brooks in this game too. I don't know that I would say that very often, but I like the points and the rebounds for D Brooks in this game. And you can see that actually the rebounds are moving as well. They're 3.5, minus 130, opened at about minus 125. So this is on the move as well for the boards. And the reason is that he is the one guarding SGA. And you know that if you go into the games, you can see the box score and see who's guarding whom. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump into the box score from the last game that these teams played, and I'm going to look at who Dillon Brooks is guarding so I can decipher what's going on here, right? Why is he getting so many minutes? Why is he playing so well against the Thunder? Well, I happen to know that he's from Canada, so is SGA. They're friends, and he loves guarding him, and that's who he guards. So if you go into the box score, you can actually go to matchups, and you can choose offensive and defensive players to see who is the actual one-on-one matchup for the most of the time, right? Dillon Brooks spent the majority of the time guarding SGA. Of anybody on the floor, he spent 7 minutes. And the times where guys like Amin Thompson or Tari Eason were the primary defenders, it's mostly because he got a switch by screening to get Dillon Brooks off of him, because you would rather not have Dillon Brooks guarding him because he's a good defender, one-on-one, and good at fouling, but also just a good defender. So that's why I also know that Dillon Brooks is someone to follow the minutes against the Thunder because he's needed on defense. So he's going to be playing a lot. And for someone to get rebounds, I need them to be playing a lot of minutes so they have the opportunity to get the rebounds. And obviously for the points as well, he's just playing a lot more and he gets geared up. Like, this is, you can call this speculation, but if you know anything, if you're following the news of the league, you know Dillon Brooks loves to play against this team. If you look at the because he likes to play against SGA on defense and on offense, to be honest. And if you look at the numbers for him this season, over the points pretty cleanly in both here, the rebounds as well, averaging about 5.5. So the points and rebounds had the biggest disparity. He averages 16 on the season and has 22 this season in 2 games against this team. Not the biggest sample size. So let's look at last season and we get the similar stuff here. If you look at points, he's over in 3 of 4. If you look at rebounds, he's over in 3 of 4, right? Individually. The points and rebounds, a little bit worse at 16.5. Would be nice to get this at 15.5, but either way, this is a really good number for him, even at 16.5. I lean towards the points because he's also a spot up shooter. That's the only way Dillon Brooks is scoring, is off the catch and shoot. And as a result, that is what you want to target here against the Thunder. I told you they pressure the crap out of the ball. They're almost the inverse of Houston's defense, right? Where the Thunder are going to overpressure the ball handlers and allow spot up shooters to be a little bit more open. Now, they don't really care because they're choosing who they'd like to leave open. They're not going to be leaving Jalen Green open. They're not going to be leaving Fred VanVleet open. They are going to be leaving Dillon Brooks open. So that's the dude that I like to target for the points. I'll probably play the points and the rebounds together on this, but more on that tomorrow once again. Last but certainly not least is Alpi Şengün. We have him at 10.5 rebounds and we have him at 20.5 points. This is fluctuating as well. You can see there's some differences here. Some books even have 18.5, 19.5, and DraftKings is holding a 20.5 points for Alpi Şengün. Another reminder to shop your lines so that you make sure you're have an account with as many sports books as possible so you can make sure you have access to as many lines as possible. One more reminder about that. My preferred bet here is the boards, and that's because this team sucks at rebounding, the Thunder. They're 29th in rebounds allowed. Even with Isaiah Hartenstein, very good rebounder out there, Alpi Şengün still doing work against them, and so are centers in general. And everybody is getting rebounds against this Thunder team. They're not very good at it. So I think that's the best play for him. I don't mind the points, but this is another situation where you're going to be seeing Alpi play 32 to 35 minutes. You cannot keep him off the floor for more than that. He's too important to this team. I wouldn't hate the assists, except for they bumped up to 5.5. So 4.5 is juiced way down to the over, right? It's like minus 150 to take an over 4.5. I don't like the PRA. They got this all the way up at 36.5. That's a very high number of even 35.5 against a very good defensive team. It's not something that I'm willing to take. I think the rebounds by themselves are a good play here. Now, I think we might be able to get even more value because once again, this is on Friday night, and I'm looking at a lot of books that are giving us under for minus 125. If people keep betting the under on the rebounds for Şengün, they're going to push it to 9.5, and now we're going to be able to hit the over on 9.5 boards, or maybe get a really good number on a double-double for him, right? Because now if he gets 10 boards, that's the line. Double-double, maybe we get about plus 115, 120 in that range. That's a really good for Alpi Şengün. So another guy that I'm targeting. I just need to see what the market does a little bit more, and if it gets to 9.5, then I'm smacking the over on these boards. Last reminder, 3 winners, reach out to me on Discord or Twitter at JLBoogie, and we'll go ahead and get you a free month in the VIP with that access that you won by getting a best bet right on that video. I'll be back. I've got anytime touchdowns and player prop bets for the NFL on Sunday in a couple of separate episodes. So make sure to subscribe to that page, give that video a like. Until I see y'all next, happy betting.